Legend Total War here, and today we've got a Rate Your Doomstack video covering a Luther Harkon Shriek Terrorgheist Doomstack going up against Dark Elves. So we've got Marathi there and two other armies, so it's about 2.5 stacks. Now, there's something here that I really want to address before we go into the actual battle, and that's to do with the Sword of Khaine. So, I think what a lot of people want to do is they want to send in a Doomstack and get a high rating, obviously. You know, they want the attaboy, pat on the back, 10 out of 10, would definitely build this against sort of rating, right? But here's the thing, if you attach the Sword of Khaine to your army, I am never going to give you a 10 out of 10 for your Doomstack. In fact, this Sword of Khaine is going to deduct points from your Doomstack. So, whatever score I end up giving this at the end, I'm going to give it two separate scores. The score with the Sword of Khaine and the sword, the score without the Sword of Khaine. Because there's more to an army than just can it destroy enemy armies. If that's the only thing you care about, then that's totally fine. But there's other important things at play. If your army costs an excessive amount of gold or some kind of unique resources, or has some kind of really bad drawback, is that it hurts your campaign in some way, I will deduct points from it. Because an army is not just a tool to win battles, it's also a tool to expand your influence in the campaign. And if in some way it impedes that, you will deduct points. So I'm going to take that into consideration. Let's move into the battle here and see how it performs. I'll use the Sword of Khaine to the absolute best of my ability, because that's what he attached into this army, but guaranteed that this is never going to hit a 10 out of 10. Any army that has the Sword of Khaine will never hit a 10 out of 10 by my rating. So just keep that in mind if you're planning on sending me a Doomstack and you've got the Sword of Khaine. Alright. If your goal is to get a high score, ditch the Sword of Khaine. Okay? Because you'll gain points in terms of the army strength, but since the cost is increased, you'll lose points there. And I get that some people probably don't care about the cost of the campaign, but I do. So that's where a lot of, I weight very heavily that kind of stuff. Anyway, we'll judge it at the end of the battle. Let's see how it performs against this. Alright, so reinforcements are coming in from here. What I think we'll do, because we've got a very strong army and the enemy's not that strong, what I want to do is just let them get together, because the most important thing with this is not necessarily to win the battle, but to give these guys an appropriate test. And if I just go over there and stomp them, it's not really going to showcase their full strength. Considering that we've got all of his Law of Magic, because he's got the his quest done, and we've also got Vampire Magic here, so we probably don't need to use Nehek, so I guess we could use Wind of Death. Alright, if we're going to make use of the Sword of Khaine, because he's got so much ward save, we'll use him to tank the Dark Rider repeater crossbows. And I'll just keep these guys out of it for the time being.
But Legend, I think you should rate it higher with the Sword of Khaine.
No. Sorry. Look, here's the thing about Sword of Khaine. I think they've implemented the Sword of Khaine correctly into the campaign, in that you should never pick up the Sword of Khaine. From a lore perspective, it's only ever ended in disaster, right? For any race that picks up Sword of Khaine. It's there if your campaign is totally fucked and you have no other choice and the Sword of Khaine is an option for you. It's the last ditch effort. It's not something that you use to expand your empire with. So I want you to keep that in consideration when picking up Sword of Khaine. Now, if you're playing a campaign and everything is going super breezy, and you got Public Order sorted, and you're playing on easy difficulty, and you just got billions of gold in the bank, and you want to pick up Sword of Khaine, by all means, go do that. That's totally fine. But make no mistake, you're not improving your strength rating on the campaign map by picking up Sword of Khaine. You're weakening yourself. It's really just a meme, and memes are not going to get extra scores.
I really think Legend should rate the Sword of Khaine a bit higher.
No, sorry, it causes way too many drawbacks. It's not going to get a higher score. Anyway, let's not go on about that too much. Since I can't catch it, I might as well use the breath attacks. I don't really value the Terrorgheist breath attack that much. It's alright. I don't think it's great though. Alright, here they come. So yeah, we wanted them to get together so it's a bit more of a threat. I really want to put this army to the test. Since he gave it the Sword of Khaine, let's see how much it can actually take on. Alright, Morathi is coming in. Let's beat the crap out of this hag. Okay, draw her away from the rest of her army, and let's do this. Alright, I want to keep a few Terrorgheists in reserve over here to protect the wizard there. And let's try to focus on getting rid of their flying units first. But at the same time, I gotta protect our fleet captain. Okay, Morath. Oh, that dragon went down really quickly. She's backing off. Alright, we also got these abilities here, which they're alright. It's gonna be hard to hit. Yeah, they. Looks like they're heading in pretty heavily over here.
Very well. By all means.
Okay, let's try this. Problem with that spell, it's good, but it takes a long time to cast. So they could very easily dodge it. Alright, are we ready to... No, we're not going to be at Castment of Death now. Let's pop this down. And not yet for... Actually, no, that looks like a good shot. So how many kills did he get? 175 of that's pretty good. That could be useful. How much does it cost? 8. No, I want to save it for a Wind of Death. Okay. We've almost got rid of all their flyers. I should try to hide if you can, because I want these Terrorgheists to come back up. Did we get rid of Morathi yet? Almost. Couple more hits. We almost got it. She's gone. We can't catch up to her. Get over here. Sort this out. It's good that the damage is quite evenly spread out. I think I'll get another one of these down. Let's try to predict where they're going to be. Actually, I don't think that's going to work. Yeah, they just it takes too long to cast that spell. Just wait for them to come back in. Wow, she's already at max regen. Alright, some good opportunities are incoming. Alright, this looks like a good opportunity for the spell. Oh my god, that did so much damage. I can't see Morathi's thing. I have to cast it on Morathi. Oh god, it's going crazy now. Pop it down on all of them. Hurts them a lot more than it hurts me. This one is taking a lot of damage. Try to get it out if we can. Alright, I think that was Morathi down. But I'm not sure. Because it's just such a clusterfuck in there now. In many ways, in some ways, Vanguard's Revenge might actually be better than Winds of Death for Vampire Coast. It's just cheaper. And the Vampire Coast doesn't have as... Okay, I need to neheck that. If I want to keep it alive, I need to neheck it. It's just, something's keeping that stuck. Can we get some other guys in there? Should we get it out? Okay, if I could just get... Okay, here we go. this should clear out the last remnants of their army, I think. The Terrorgheists themselves are definitely quite squishy, but Luther Harkon's very tanky, obviously. Okay, we've just got a few more guys to get rid of, and then we can back off and just heal for a bit. Maybe. Alright, good. More reinforcements are incoming. Alright, I want to pull off all of the Terrorgheist. You go hide over here. Yeah, pull back all the Terrorgheist, let them just have a bit of a rest. Did we just hit the army losses? No. And just let Luther Harkon handle it by himself for a bit, because he's so tanky. Just let them have a bit of a rest. And pick off easy targets. Escort these guys here off the battlefield. Is that the army losses? Yep, that's the army losses there. It's definitely a good army. Like, I know it was being a bit mean about the Sword of Khaine being attached to the army, but this is a good army, for sure. Is it better than Necrofex Colossus? Maybe. Let Luther Harkon handle that. See how much damage this does. What the hell?
Quickly now.
Yeah, 300 damage. It's better than nothing. You really want to make sure when you do this, you're using it against something that's standing still. I found against moving targets, it's absolutely awful. Alright, cool. And if we really wanted to be efficient, you would just wait for them to run off the battlefield. That way you can get the maximum amount of regen for all these guys so that you're not damaged in the next battle. Alright, time to evaluate this. Let's have a look at how he's skilled things up and what equipment he's got. And the main thing I'm going to be comparing it to is the Necrofex Colossus army, which I think this is going to be pretty close to.
Souls for sale.
Okay. It wasn't the most dangerous enemy to go up against, and he could have gone up against, I think, a little bit more. But that's fine. I think it was an appropriate test. We got an idea of how much the Terrorgheist could handle. Oh, so we were defending there. Okay, let's just get through to our turn so we can actually have a look at our stats. And see what the cost of the army is. Just what the effects of the Sword of Khaine's doing. Because we need to take that into consideration. If you don't want to take that into consideration, that's totally up for you. But I do. This is why sometimes we've had armies that have lost their battles, that have gotten higher scores than armies that have won their battles. It's because there's different things to take into consideration. If you gotta consider more than just winning the battle sometimes. That's not the most important thing in this game. Yeah, making the most unstoppable army is just not the most important thing. Okay, like don't get me wrong, if you can make an unstoppable army that basically costs you nothing, that's 10 out of 10. But let's just see about this. So his campaign's going very well. It's very late in the campaign. I don't think I've ever played a campaign, Vampire Coast campaign up to 200. But anyway, so he's got it to the maximum level of the Sword of Khaine. So all upkeep is increased by 10%, public order -8, all provinces, diplomatic relations -40. The diplomatic relations isn't that big of a deal for it, but the public order, what's the campaign difficulty? Difficulty level -2. That means it's on hard difficulty. Now, when I'm going to rate this kind of stuff, I'd largely rate it for legendary difficulty. So if you were playing on legendary, that'd be -8. So there'd be a 6 extra public order penalty. Your faction penalties are -12. That's because of this over here. -12. Yeah. So you've already got the vampiric corruption over here just fine. So in areas where you do have it under control, the Sword of Khaine is fine. But the thing is, conquering new provinces that don't have vampiric corruption, basically your armies are going to have to stay there for way longer. That's why... excuse me. That's why Sword of Khaine is really bad. Your existing consolidated provinces are probably going to be fine, right? But when you... Let's just say you're going to conquer the Black Coast, right? You captured both of these settlements, it's got a lot of chaos corruption, and then you've got this huge public order penalty on top of difficulty penalty as well. Now, you could just walk away and just conquer another province, but the chances are you'll have a revolt. So you have two options with that revolt. You either need to rely on the garrison to deal with it, which is busy work, because the garrisons are never really awesome, or have an army to deal with that. So it's increasing costs. Bad public order increase costs exponentially the faster you expand. Now, for a faction like the High Elves and Lizardmen that can increase their public order infinitely due to, for Lizardmen, Saurus Oldblood, and for High Elves, Emollient Heroes, or any Handmaiden with the Blessing of Isha or whatever it is, can increase global bonuses to public order. So eventually public order gets to a ridiculous point where the Sword of Khaine doesn't matter. And then the only thing in that situation you take into consideration is the upkeep cost. And then for the High Elves specifically, because they're so unbelievably rich, they're one of the few factions in the game that it is totally fine to pick up the Sword of Khaine at the later stages of the campaign, provided you've entrepreneur cheesed and that you've got loads of global bonuses to public order. Then, the penalties caused by the Sword of Khaine don't matter. Same thing with the Dark Elves with the upkeep cost. Because they are so unbelievably rich, the upkeep cost reduction penalty, not that big of a deal. But the public order penalty for the Dark Elves is a massive problem, just using different factions as an example, because they can't infinitely increase their public order, and because slaves decrease their public order as well, a lot of their regions will need to either build an additional public order building just to account for the Sword of Khaine, which is an extra cost you got to take into consideration. Now, the Vampire Coast cannot infinitely increase their public order, and there is a limit to which they can decrease their upkeep costs. Their economy itself is not amazing. Given how much territory you have, 63,000 is, not the best. High Elves would be able to have way more than that by most factions would have way more than that. That's certainly not the poorest faction, don't get me wrong. So paying an extra 10% for this army, probably not that big of a deal. I mean, you are playing on hard difficulty, not legendary. So if we were to bump it, actually, why don't we do that? Why don't we check it, what the upkeep cost might be if we basically double the supply line penalty, right? Now, that's not going to apply until next turn, so just bring that one down over here.
Why is he spending so much time on Sword of Khaine?
Alright, so what we want to do here is check out what the upkeep costs are going to be like. So let's see what the difference is between hard and very hard. And why that these upkeep cost penalties really do matter. We saw that each one of them was worth about 400 upkeep cost while on hard difficulty. So then we'll see what it's like on very hard. Just gotta get through the turn. Doesn't matter. We don't need to send a save file back. We're just testing this out. What a difference! What a difference! Holy crap! 40,000 gold difference. This is just on very hard now as well. From 400 to 930 gold. Okay, bet you wish you didn't pick up the Sword of Khaine now. Now, by the way, if it's on legendary difficulty, that's an additional 10% on top of this as well. So it'd be even more expensive. So just keep that in mind of what you're doing here. So basically, think of it like this. If this was on legendary difficulty, this is what the upkeep cost would be, because he's got an extra 10%, right? Yeah, so it makes a big difference. I didn't realize it was that much. That's with 7 supply lines, because the first one doesn't count. Okay, yeah. What a big difference that makes to your upkeep costs. Holy crap. So, now, in terms of how he's been leveled up, let's have a look here. Yep. Yep, so that boosts Terrorgheists. Yep, that's all correct. Good. Yeah, I think this is all fine. I don't have a problem with any of this. And this one here.
I reserve judgment.
Yep, I think you should have gone down Drown Dead instead of Van Hell's Dance Macabre. I find that to be a lot more useful. But then again, I tend to go with the Necrofex Colossus Doomstack, which is more useful for that. So maybe you're actually right by doing that. Because that's a significant buff that I don't really make use of a lot of the time. Also, let's have a look at what the cost difference would be between a Necrofex and a Terrorgheist. So Necrofex are actually cheaper. Okay. Only by a little bit, but they are cheaper. Okay. Alright, so, in terms of rating this, I'm going to firstly rate it with the Sword of Khaine. 7 out of 10. Okay? It's crippled your economy. And it's causing you public order problems. See, now it's a lot worse now that we're playing on a higher difficulty level. Yeah, 7 out of 10 if you've got the Sword of Khaine. Without the Sword of Khaine, I'm actually going to give this a 9 out of 10. So you've weakened your score by a whole 2 points by putting the Sword of Khaine to this army. Yes, it makes Luther Harkon a lot stronger, but the public order will mean that your expansion will be slower, which means that your armies, you'll either need more armies, which will increase your upkeep costs, which is already increasing upkeep costs, or you need to stay in your provinces longer, which is going to increase your upkeep costs because you're not gaining assets quicker. So I can't really stress enough how bad the Sword of Khaine is in this army. It's losing you a whole full 2 points. But apart from the Sword of Khaine, I like what you've done with the army. It's pretty simple. But I'd say it's pretty effective. So without Sword of Khaine, I think this is a solid 9 out of 10. And I think it's pretty much on par with the Necrofex Colossus. But the thing is about this Necrofex Colossus is that it's just way easier to recruit it because you can get it so quickly. Because you can build this really quickly in the campaign and just get them going right away. And they're useful in pretty much any situation. But this definitely has some strengths over the Necrofexes in that this will be easier in sieges, which is definitely useful. It's not that Necrofexes can't siege, it's just that these guys are definitely better at it. It'll be better against lots of flying armies. What it won't be good at dealing with is skirmishers. Lots of artillery, lots of dark shards, that kind of stuff. Lots of armor-piercing missiles would probably cause this a lot of problems. Especially if you're outnumbered 2 to 1 because they bog you down. They're not quick at getting rid of infantry. So this is really an anti-single entity army, whereas the Necrofex Colossus is like an anti-infantry mass number sort of army. So having different ones of these Doomstacks could complement your army quite effectively. I probably wouldn't go with half and half, but that could also be quite effective. So yeah, overall, I think it's a good army. Just drop the Sword of Khaine, and I reckon it'd be worth a lot more. Anyway, really appreciate the guy sending this in, because I think it was important to sort of cover all the problems that Sword of Khaine causes. Now, I just want to reiterate this again. If you're picking up the Sword of Khaine because you want to pick up the Sword of Khaine, by all means, don't let me deter you from doing it. But just be aware that the drawbacks have massive, overreaching consequences to it. And if you're okay with those consequences, all the more power to you. That's totally fine. But don't just wish away that these consequences don't exist, because they do, and they're pretty damn significant. The longer and later the campaign goes on, the more significant these penalties become as you get more and more armies. This gets worse and worse and worse. The Sword of Khaine is really best used when you have one army left, you're losing the campaign, and you beat someone that's got the Sword of Khaine, and you've got it, and you're like, great, I need this to get myself out of the shit, and then put the sword back. That's the ideal situation for using it. Or you're playing as a faction that these issues just aren't a problem. You're either super rich, so money is not an issue. I mean, this guy is got a lot of money saved up. I don't think he was playing on hard difficulty. And we do want to sort of rate these for higher difficulties over lower difficulties, because you don't need Doomstacks on like normal. But anyway, there's lots of things to take into consideration. Just be aware of them. That's okay. And if you're okay with the consequences, then all the more power to you. Anyway, that's the end of this one. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I think I've been really thorough on this particular evaluation, and I really want to drive home that it's very important that you take the campaign effects of your armies into consideration, and that the cost of those armies is important, because every faction usually has an army that they can produce fairly cheaply and reliably, and that works really well. It doesn't have to be the most destructive force ever, especially if it cripples your economy. For example, with the greenskins, with the the rogue idol Doomstack. Super, super strong, but they can't afford it. You know, that's the problem with that. So some factions can get away with it, other factions can't. Anyway, that's the end of this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. Appreciate you. Don't forget to leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this army and how you think about my thoughts around the Sword of Khaine, and what your thoughts are on the Sword of Khaine. And because I'll be reading the comments. And I'll see you next time, fuckers. Appreciate you. Bye.